Humans podcast. My name's Hallie Madeline, and each week we'll be interviewing inspiring humans from all over the world who are living examples of what happens when you pour energy into yourself so that you're better equipped to give energy to the world around you. It starts within, but it doesn't end within, because when we show up for ourselves, we show up for the world. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Happy Humans podcast. My name's Hallie and we're here today with my good friend Jevon Taylor, who is the founder of False Ego, a sustainable clothing brand based here in Denver. And we're so excited to chat with him today, so welcome.
Thank you, thanks for having me, for sure.
Of
This
course.
is amazing.
Yay! So would you like to start by telling us a little bit about who you are, what you're up to in life right now, how you're existing?
I'm Jevon Taylor, born and raised in Denver, Colorado. I went to George Washington High School, Denver native. I just moved back from Kansas City a couple years ago, and I started my clothing brand about 18 months ago. So it's been a journey, but I'm glad to be back in Colorado. It's good to be back and with all these different resources and kind of be back during this renaissance phase of Colorado. And continue to network. I think that's 100%. One of the best things so far, just the network I've been able to build, and just looking to continue to do it.
100%.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about what your clothing brand is about, how you started it, why you started it?
For sure. So it's an eco-friendly clothing brand. We really focus on this whole process of making garments sustainably, even the full life cycle, because I feel like a lot of people don't understand the importance of giving a garment a full life cycle. A lot of people, a lot of brands, say they make out of sustainable materials plastics and different things, but after you're done with them, they go right into the trash because they can't be recycled. So we use Pima cotton. It's an organic fabric. We source it out of California, and everything is designed and manufactured in Colorado. So we keep it all in the U.S. as well. We just got a recycling program to allow our customers to say you buy a t-shirt and 2 years from now you don't want it anymore, you can send it back to us and we turn it into air insulation.
Amazing.
And, for sure. And we also plant a tree for every product we sell.
Amazing.
Through our partnership with Tree Nation. So just looking to really embrace customer empowerment, giving customers every purchase they make, they're also helping the earth in some way, shape, or form.
Love.
And just looking to grow. We're supposed to be having our new store this summer, Costa Furniture. We're getting the LOI signed right now, so
amazing.
Super excited about that, and looking to just keep on building. So.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So what inspired you to start this in the first place?
I think it was just finding out that fashion is the number 2 polluter in the world behind gas and oil, just wanting to make an impact. I feel like everybody wears clothes and everybody wants to express themselves, so I want to give them something to express and something positive to express. When I feel like you look at, the Patagonias and some other sustainable clothing brands, it's pretty basic. I think they're great companies and the marketing is basic. I mean, marketing is great, but the design is really basic. Mm-hmm. And I want to kind of give somebody a flair to wear, kind of blend streetwear and sustainable fashion in one. So kind of when we want to start it. And I started it actually when I was doing an internship as a wellness coordinator for an aviation company. I was in a whole new city, by myself, didn't really know anybody other than people I worked with. And when I wasn't doing my internship, I would come back to my apartment and kind of just start graphic designing. This was also during a time when I just got done playing basketball and I was kind of trying to find myself outside of sports. Mm-hmm. So one of my friends, Butters, he's a real tech genius, and he hooked me up with a free Adobe Illustrator account.
Amazing.
And started graphic designing from there. Started reading a bunch about the false ego, and I kind of attribute it to being something that makes it hard for us to connect with anything outside of ourselves. The people around us, the environment, and us being an eco-friendly clothing brand. We really want to connect consumers to that bigger picture. Mm-hmm. And
amazing. So how did you come up with the name False Ego, and I guess what does that directly mean to you?
So when I was reading, I came up with the name of it. It was just an interesting concept. I never heard of it. You hear about ego, you hear about all these different things, all these different terms, but false ego, I was it really stuck out. And I read it in 3 different books. Ooh. So you just see things repetitively, and it's you feel called to do something about it. Mm-hmm. And so I started graphic designing with it, mm-hmm. and it kind of just all came together. And I was okay, this is the name. And what it meant to me was just, like I said, just something that makes it hard for us to connect with anything outside of ourselves. And that was the point. I was just connecting myself and really connecting with everything. I was just getting more outdoors, just more trying things, and found out how big my ego was. Like I didn't think I had a big ego,
Yeah.
but like I was just like so stuck in my ways because of just like bad habits. And so like learning about the false ego, it just kind of opened my world. So yeah, and the idea just built over time. Like I didn't one day just, oh my God, I'm gonna do all these things. It's
Yeah.
just like, as I learned more about fashion, as I learned more about the environment, I learned more about just business in general. That's how the vision built, and
Totally.
here we are. Yeah.
Totally. I feel like it's something where you never, like you probably never could have seen yourself in this position, like
Yeah,
when
honestly,
you
I couldn't
began.
have, yeah, like I mean, just my mom was so stuck in basketball, and then I was like, all right, I don't want to play basketball anymore. I'm gonna be a wellness coordinator, a project manager for a hospital. I really want to get in like the health field. And then during my internship, it was a great internship, great experience, but I just couldn't see myself staying in the office from like 9 to 5 every day.
Yeah.
Just like you see the same people, you're just in the office all day, you don't get to go outside, and I'm just like, man, this is not what I want to do. And I was like 21 at the time, and I was like, this is the time where you have the power to make choices. You just realize how young you are and like how much of the world you still have to see. And I was like, this is time to take a chance. So I took a chance and kind of just went for it. If you take a leap, a net will appear. So
I love that. I feel like all you need to know is like the first step, like take the first step, and then the next steps reveal themselves to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I've learned so far is just learning on the go. I feel like people feel like they have to have everything figured out before they even start.
Right.
And it's like, that's not the way you do it. Like, of course you want to have some type of idea, take your time with your planning, but at the same time, you really want to just take a risk and like learn as you go and just like accept you're going to mess up, accept there's going to be trial and error, and just take those as learning experiences rather than like losses.
I feel like there's such a thing as over planning too.
For
like
sure.
you can get so into like, and then this will happen, and then like in 3 years, and then in 4 years. But
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, like you literally never know
Absolutely.
what you're gonna encounter.
I think it's called like analysis paralysis.
Yeah, 100%. And taking risks is so essential.
Oh man. But I think it takes a certain person to take risks. You have to first like believe in yourself and then just kind of be like bold enough to do it.
Totally.
Because I mean, like a lot of people, like they have these ideas, but they're never bold enough to like see them through because they're scared about other people think about them, or they're scared. Oh, look this way. Like I want to, look this way to my family and my friends, or but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Like, are you happy?
Yeah.
That's what matters.
100%. I feel like starting a business reveals a lot of limiting beliefs to yourself. Like I feel like you encounter which limiting beliefs you have, and you have to push through in starting a business and in encountering these failures.
What were some of your limiting beliefs that you had to like come through?
Ooh.
Switch
You're
roles.
reversing this. Oh man, so many. I think mainly what you said of like worrying what other people think. Like I think fear of failure is a big one that I've worked through, because at this point, I think now I've learned that I'm like, ooh, like failure honestly is my biggest friend. Like failure way to success all the way. Because the first year I messed up so much and was so hard on myself, and kind of like in the beginning thought it was the end of the world, and like, oh my God, everyone's gonna know about this, and like, oh, this is the biggest thing ever. But now looking back, like it doesn't matter at all. It's just like a blip on the radar, and you learn so much through that process.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the biggest things about going forward, because you're able to look back and say like, this doesn't matter anymore. But if you quit right there, you would never know that.
Yeah. Yeah, and just having the vision and like sticking to that, like knowing that you're gonna like continue pushing forward. Like I remember one time I encountered a challenge where like my hard drive broke or something, and I lost all my photography, and like it wasn't even on I was like, oh man, like this sucks, like I'm gonna have to like rebuild my website and like rebuild all this stuff. But then someone was like, don't quit photography, and I was like, that was not even on my radar like at all. Like that was not even a question in my mind. And I think that's the point when I realized that kind of is an essential key to success, is just like always like staying true to the vision and staying true to the purpose and what makes you happy.
Yeah, for sure. Is that a question?
Sure. What makes you happy?
What makes
Javon?
me happy? Man, I would say just having a peace of mind. I think that's something I really value, and just knowing that I'm taking a step forward. Like, I think I used to put a lot of pressure on myself. Just like, I need to get all these things done. I need to make these certain things happen, and just like, as long as I think I really got really structured. That's really like allowed me to kind of like track my progress on a more like sustainable basis, and just like writing down. I started out like, I'm gonna write 7 tasks a day, and I have to do it. I complete those 7 tasks for 7 days. Then I started doing 14 tasks, and then I think I capped it out at like 15, because I was like, well, that's not good. But like just building these habits. You know, I think you have to learn how you work,
Mm-hmm.
or in order to learn how to work, you have to learn how you work.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like just kind of learning your habits. I think everybody learns differently, everybody works differently.
totally,
And like finding out how you get in your groove, what makes you feel creative, what spaces you need to be in,
totally,
what just like environment, you know, you thrive most in. And I think
totally.
those are things you have to find out. And once I found that out, I became a lot happier.
Yeah,
And just connecting with people, I think that makes me happy too. Like, you know, leaving a great conversation with somebody, you just feel like energized. That makes me
totally.
happy. Um, New drinks, like new like tea drinks or like foods or fruits. I'm on like a fruit wave right now. Like I've just been like
Yes,
trying a bunch of all these different fruits, and it
yes.
makes me happy.
I
My
love
plants make
it.
me happy.
Yes.
I'm a happy person, honestly.
Yes, you are.
It's a great time in life.
We got a happy human over here.
Absolutely.
So, in talking about what makes you work and finding like your groove of what works for you, what does that process look like for you, and what is kind of your everyday? Because I mean, starting off as not an entrepreneur to now suddenly becoming this full-fledged entrepreneur, what has that, I guess, transition looked like?
Like I said, just adding a lot more structure. My everyday is pretty different. I mean, Mondays and Tuesdays I'm at my shop from 11 to 8, so I'm there all day. But then Wednesdays through Fridays, I'm usually just like doing a bunch of meetings. That's also my own podcast on Thursdays, so I'm doing that. And then it's kind of just delegating responsibilities. I hired my first employee a couple months ago, which is super tight. It really has been helping out a lot. But it's like learning how to, you know, be a leader and learning how to delegate, you know, because at first, like, it was kind of me and her were just kind of just doing a bunch of just tasks together. And I'm like, okay, this is good, but like I feel like we're missing something. And what I realized we're missing is like none of us were doing independent projects. So like when we weren't working, we were like meeting somewhere, like we would meet at a coffee shop or meet wherever, and then we would start working there. But it's like we could be doing more stuff independently to like start making more progress. And just like being transparent, you know, I think when it comes to partnerships, when it comes to working together, it's like you really have to be transparent and just like express how you feel. You don't want things to linger. But I mean, as far as the transition from me going to an employee to an entrepreneur, it's been a great process. I think it's really been like mentally freeing, you know, allowing myself to just like learn how I work, allowing myself to just create and not forget to create. Because sometimes you like get in these modes where you're just like so busy doing everything and you just don't create anymore. And it's like, whoa, what happened?
Totally.
You know, so learning through that and just becoming a lot more financially literate because you have to be. Yeah, so.
I love that. Do you feel like you have to, for me, I totally resonate with that. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, shoot, like I've been so caught up in like building my business and doing all the things that I was like, I can't remember the last time I just like sat down and like just created freely. And so I created that space for myself the other day. But what does that process look like for you? Like, do you feel like you have to block it out? Do you feel like you release it whenever it flows through you, or?
Creativity?
Yeah.
I feel like I have to like set time to do it, like, because you can really just get caught up in going to meetings and just talking to people and just meeting up and just working like in the business instead of on the business.
Totally.
And that's one thing I've had to learn because I've just like hit points where I'm like, damn, why am I not feel like I'm moving, you know, at the pace I want to be moving, and just because I'm working in it and not on it. And I'm like, I feel like when you work in your business, you're never able to like see where you want to go, and you lose track of that.
Totally.
Because you get caught up in like the minute things that like kind of matter at the time, but it's just like little tasks. And that's why I think it's so important to like really start building a team, because you can like delegate those little tasks, or those time suckers, to people that work with you and work for you, and you can work on the creation part of it, and which I really enjoy. You know, I think some CEOs are like, they like doing those kind of things, the meetings and like the plannings and all that other stuff. I'm more of the creator. Like I'm like the visionary person who like sees where I want to go, and it's like, all right, I'll do this, and that's like, all right, you guys can work on like the other stuff, like the inventory and the little tasks.
Totally.
So just learning that, and yeah.
I love it. I feel like that's the purpose of building a team is,
for sure.
I've heard that in other podcasts too, of saying that like you need to be the one pushing the vision forward for the business, because the vision is you. I mean, the vision came through you. And so like allowing, I guess, clearing up that space for yourself to do that. And I've also heard it said that you're like literally losing money in your business if you're working on the everyday tasks, because if you could be hiring someone and paying them $15 to $20 an hour or whatever to do these tasks, someone who's willing to do these tasks and open to it and wants to be doing them,
Absolutely.
then, I mean, what's your time worth? And like, you know, like
Absolutely.
measuring what your time's worth and like knowing your role in the business, I feel like is so key.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even you know Eric. Yeah.
I
So
know
he
Eric.
he gave a speech the other day at an event I was doing, and I was like, "You're tight, bro."
Yeah.
But he's like, I think him and like two other people over those 3 days. We're just talking about delegating and delegating, and I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be hearing this because it's like usually
Yeah.
I was just like so stuck in my way, and I was not even like consciously, but like he said it, and like my partner was talking about it, and then like this other person I was talking to, they were talking about delegating responsibility, not even like about me, just in general, and I was like, okay, like it's time for me to start delegating some responsibilities, because he brought up a great point, and like how important is your time, you know, like how, and just like what are you willing to pay for it, and yeah, it's kind of just the question you have to ask yourself when it comes to that. So.
I love that. You can't even call Eric, by the way. Like it goes, like if you try and call him, it goes to his assistant. Like he has everything delegated.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
I look up to him in that regard as well. He'll be on the podcast soon. But I love that. So in building your business, I guess, how have you seen, I feel like it's inevitable, and we've touched on certain points of this already, but just your own personal growth, like from start to finish of this. Have you like felt like you've been growing with the business as a human?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've grown a lot more confidence. I think when I first started, I was like kind of insecure about certain things, like, you know, openly saying like I'm an entrepreneur, openly saying like I have a clothing brand, openly saying that I do these things, because I feel like, I don't know, when you do these things in like a saturated field, like when you tell people about it, like, oh, you're starting a clothing brand, like, oh, you're starting a podcast, oh, you're just doing it, you're a photographer, you know, it's just like, you're just like everybody else, but like inside, you know that you're way, you know, ahead of these other people, and it's like my vision goes way further than just clothing, it goes way further than just photography, you know, whatever, and so I think I've definitely grown a lot in that, just kind of like being secure, like, you know, this is what I am, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. And sometimes I feel like you got to give people your vision rather than like just expecting them to see it.
Totally.
You know, kind of let your actions speak. So I think I've grown a lot in that area. I've definitely grown in discipline, you know, adding structure to my life, discipline within just like my habits, like reading, working out, and just staying to a strict schedule. Trying to get better at that, and then I think I've also gotten a lot better at just like education, you know, knowing why like fashion is such a thing, like such a huge it impacts the earth so much, like knowing why it impacts it, knowing what goes into fashion, knowing what, you know, how to like, you know, the finances, like, you know, cut and sew items and the differences, and like why certain things are made certain ways, like you can't recycle zippers, that's a fact I learned the other day, and just like designing clothing for its sustainability, and not just like saying it's sustainable. I've been learning a lot about greenwashing, been learning a lot about, like, I've been really blessed to be in this leadership committee, and one of the people in it is the president for Botanic Gardens, and he gives a tour of their new building they're building right now. It's like $50 million project. And it's amazing. Like, the building is incredible. Like, they're gonna have art galleries. They got this like 40-foot by 32-foot visual display. They got auditoriums. They got science labs. They're gonna be like cloning seeds and all these different things. It's crazy stuff. But I think I've just been really, really inspired lately. Like by the people I've been able to hang out with and just like talk to. Like, they're way older than me, but at the same time, it's like they serve so much inspiration in my life, because like they're doing incredible things. You know, the fact that you're ahead of like a $50 million project alone is incredible. And it's like with the Botanic Gardens, and I've been learning a lot about farming. I started farming last summer. So I just learned about how to grow fruits, vegetables, and herbs.
Amazing.
And like the farming organization I work for, they work with healing facilities. They work with Whole Foods and Safeway. We plant, all of our sites are in like food deserts, which is really cool. And just like learning a lot about underrepresented communities and how to help them, and just kind of been spread out, honestly. Like it's been like a lot of spread knowledge. So I'm excited to keep learning. And I feel like it's all connected. Like, Absolutely.
I feel like that's what happens when you act on a vision that's like meant to come through to you. It just like opens up life in like this whole different way that you couldn't have expected.
Honestly, like I feel like that's been one of the best parts, is just like the unexpected things, like the people I've been able to meet, the experiences. Like all right, I might have seen myself starting a company 2 years ago, but like 2 years ago, I never saw myself farming. Like literally in the farm, like harvesting like hundreds of pounds of tomatoes and potatoes and peppers and just like all these different herbs. I'm just like, wow, what am I doing right now? But it's pretty cool. It's honestly really cool. It kind of changed my whole perspective on just the environment in general.
I love that.
Like being connected with it. Actually like growing your own food and like seeing it. Like I planted that seed, 2 months ago, and now it's a whole vegetable and like eating it. Or I'm giving it to this community. Or I'm giving it to Whole Foods. I'm just like feeding people actually. So it's like, super dope.
That's so fulfilling and satisfying. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
I love everything you said about all of that. Like it's so important too that like, I love what you said too about like when you're just getting started, like no one sees your vision like you do. You have to really like know the vision. And like I read a quote somewhere that was like people will believe in your visions as much as you do. Like and you really need to be the initiator of that. And it's so interwoven with like all these other things that are just like this potential that opens up. And businesses these days like really like it's not the clothing brand is just the vessel like for everything. Like it's so much bigger than that. Absolutely. And it's a way to impact the world and share this knowledge and connect with humans on how we can, I guess, like create deeper connections within ourselves, the humans around us, and the earth. And like that's so much bigger than just the clothing. Like the clothing is just the beautiful face of it.
And even like with the clothing, it kind of like the main part I want to get across is just like creating smarter consumers, like educating consumers that they have power.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of it's just like accept the victim role, like, oh, I can't change it. My one purchase can't change it. But it's like,
totally.
You vote with your dollars every day.
Totally.
And it's like, if we educate consumers, like, this is the power you have. And if you don't buy these things, they won't sell it to you because they're not making money. That's what it all comes down to. Like, these big companies want to make money.
Yes.
So if you're not giving them your money, then it's like, they'll switch it up.
Yes.
How there's like this big thing. How I think even when it comes to like cage-free eggs, and like all these different types of milk. Us as consumers demanded that, and that's why it's in our grocery stores now.
100%.
Like if we didn't demand that, we would still be drinking cow milk.
100%.
But it's like we said we don't want that anymore, and now it's different. We can do the same thing with clothes. We can do the same thing with anything else. But it comes down to like consumers accepting their responsibility and their power.
100%. And everything starts small. Like you have to start with just one person, just one purchase. And the world looks so different now than it did like even like 3 years ago in terms of what's available in the grocery store, like what options are available to us. And the big brands, they listen. Like changes are being made because of what the consumers are demanding. And it's so powerful. I feel like the food industry has really transformed in the past few years, and I'm so excited for this new wave of the fashion industry transforming as well.
Yeah, I think it all starts with just starting the conversation. Like you have to start the conversation, and then it'll grow. You plant those seeds within people's minds. Yes. Like when I tell people like it takes 70 gallons to make a t-shirt, it's like they still might shop at H&M the next week. But I planted that seed. So they'll second guess their consumer decisions. And it's like, that's all you can do. Some people will change right away. Some people will it might just click one day and be like, oh, that's what he was saying. But it's like, I still planted that seed and it all counts.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Totally. So what was your first like encounter or awakening to the fashion industry and the impact it has?
I went to a real dark rabbit hole on YouTube.
Oh God.
I was just watching all these videos and like I just left that day depressed because like you get overinformed. And then you're like, damn, like this world sucks, And I kind of went super deep in that, and fashion was one of those things. And I also saw some positive videos too, like the projects people are doing. Like there's this thing called the Rosalia Project, and they have this kind of like ball, like laundry ball, but it catches all the microfibers in your laundry.
Amazing.
And because like even like say you get a wool sweater tomorrow and you wash it, the first wash 1 million microfibers will come off of it after the first wash, and that goes directly into our water, the ocean, rivers, whatever. And
is that plastic? Like that's like microplastics?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
But we can avoid that through the Rosalia ball. Like there's people out there doing a lot of things.
Amazing.
So that kind of gave me hope, and I was like, I was inspired by seeing that. And I was like, wow, this is really dope. I really want to like create something that changes the world too. It might not be the next thing, but you never know. So that kind of inspired me. And then I was also looking at these different festivals that are going on in DC right now. One's called the Broccoli City Festival. And it started out small, and now they have like this thing called the Broccoli Bar, which is a whole like mini grocery store that only sells like fresh vegetables for like inner city community in DC.
Amazing.
And they have this like huge music festival where like I mean all the top artists have gone through. Like they have a bunch of up and coming artists come perform, and then they have like a whole, it's called like Broccoli Con, where they have like a conference where all these different speakers from around the world talk about how we can improve our communities.
Amazing.
And it was amazing. And I was just like, wow, this is like really going on, you know? And then it's just like, who am I to not want to build that where I'm from, you know? This is like, I don't see this in Denver, I don't see this in Colorado. How can I, you know, build this? And it takes a while, you know, kind of getting your ideas together, like, okay, like this might work, this might not work, and all your ideas are like super broad.
Yeah.
And like you have these huge ideas where like half of them probably won't even like stick with you.
Yeah.
But you just get them down.
Totally.
And I was really inspired just by like creating community, and I feel like I've done a great job so far.
Yeah.
Just like creating like a community within, you know, who I hang out with, and just like I feel like I'm a centerpiece to a lot of people. I feel like none of my friends are friends, so it's just like I'm kind of like the centerpiece that kind of brings everybody together, which is pretty dope. And yeah, I think it's been like a special part being an entrepreneur and just kind of bringing those things back to Colorado.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And I feel like the sustainability conversation, because when I started in photography, I was like almost exclusively like outdoor brands, adventure photography, and that was like very present in those conversations. And then I kind of pivoted in the past couple of years to be like very, I mean, because I too like noticed just the amazingness of the community in Denver and just how like connected we are. And I think that's what struck me about your clothing brand when I first met you, is I was like, oh, like I haven't really seen this like sustainability discussion come up in like brands that I find in the city or like brands that are in the city environment. So didn't you guys you say that you're Denver's first sustainable streetwear brand? That's amazing.
That's what the magazine labeled us. I didn't think I was the first one. I was like, sure, I mean, I'll accept it for sure.
That's us.
Exactly. No, it's been cool. And I think like really just being like, I might not be the first, but like to be at the forefront of the movement in Denver is like really cool. And you know, when people have like sustainability questions, they come to me, which is like really cool. You know, like being that resource of information for people. I think it's really cool because I feel like a lot of people are just uninformed.
Totally.
You know, they just want to know. Like if they know, if we create smarter, more educated people and consumers, it's like they'll change their behavior, but a lot of people just don't know.
Yeah.
And they don't really care to like know. So it's like you put the information out there for them to see in a cool way.
Yeah.
That they're already attracted to, then it's like it makes it cool. You know, you want to make it cool to be sustainable. Like you know, I've had a bunch of friends who never thought they'd be volunteering on a farm, but it's like I kind of made it cool for them. You know, I made it like not like this foreign thing. You know, that people don't do. It's just like like urban farms exist. You know.
Yes.
So it's just, and I feel like that's a lot of things I do. I just feel like even like the leadership committee. I mean, like in my head during these meetings, I'm just like, wow, I would love for my friends to be in this environment, so they can like hear what I'm hearing and learn and be inspired. And I think that's my biggest like push and inspiration to like really just go for it and like open this new lane for like, you know, people like my friends.
100%.
You know, just people in general, just open these new lanes and like kind of expose them to new things and like let them know it's not this foreign concept to go into. So.
Yeah, I feel like the more and more you do that, like the more confidence you build. Like we were talking about first starting a business, you're like, what will people think? Like everyone's a photographer, everyone has a clothing brand, but like I think then once you do that the first time and then you like reach some level of success with that, and then first of all those people are like, oh, what are you doing? But then but then like after that I feel like you get like more and more empowered with each decision you make and like your just ability to step outside the box and try new things, and even if it's not the norm, like just exploring new ideas and just I guess paving the way, because I mean someone has to do it first. Like someone has to start.
Absolutely. And when you think about it, it's like, what is the norm?
Totally.
You know, like what does that look like? You know, I remember this guy came to my shop one day. He was like, you don't look like the type of guy that would give a shit about the environment. And I was like, what does that look like? You know,
what does that mean?
Like, what does that look like, bro? I don't know how to take that. But I kind of just laughed it off. It's like, okay, but I feel like I don't know. We just fall into these like, you know, just superficial stigmas that don't exist. You know, like we create these barriers for ourselves, and I think that's one of the biggest things I have a problem with. Like we just create these fake barriers, and I really want to just break those down. And so like initially when you first started, like what was your initial support? like when you first started your business? Like
Myself.
yeah.
I started my business when I was in engineering school. So I was studying geological engineering.
Okay.
Very left-brained, competitive environment.
Yeah.
I discovered photography my senior year. And so at that point I was like, ooh, like this is a thing. Like I feel very drawn to this. And I think that was my first experience with my intuition. But I mean, at the time, like telling your professors and your parents and everyone around you, you're like, actually, I'm going to be a photographer. And they're like, okay. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone thought I was just messing my life up. But I decided to continue school my senior year and just graduate because I was like, well, if I've made it through 3 years of hell, I'm going to get this degree to prove it. But that senior year was pretty rough. Like I did not have a ton of support. And not that anyone was doing it like out of negativity or anything. I think it was mostly fear too. I mean, I can understand why my parents wouldn't want to support that after me spending so much money on this education that yeah, like you said, like no one really sees your visions as clearly as you do at that time. And so I didn't, like my professors were like calling me out in the middle of class and like telling me I was messing up my life. And it was a really dark place, just in like all of life. And then I think it wasn't until I graduated and like I think it was once I discovered the creative community in Denver and I was like, oh, there's people here that like actually like genuinely want to support each other and lift each other up and make each other better. And this community in Denver has been just the hugest support system in the past like 3 years, I think.
It's special for sure.
Oh, it's so special. I always like to say that, I mean, people are always like, I'm moving to LA or New York for the opportunity, and that's totally valid. There's a ton of opportunity there, but most of my friends that live there are always telling me that they're like, oh, it looks like you have such like a community in Denver. Like I haven't really found that yet, like where I live. And I'm like, I think it's rad that we have both the opportunity and the community and the support system. And it's such a special type of magic here.
Absolutely. So where are you coming from originally?
We're just reversing the podcast. Javon's interviewing me now. I'm from Minnesota originally. I came here for school, for engineering school. But
gotcha.
Yeah.
So how was the engineering experience? Like, what was like original plan? Like when you wanted to like go through engineering, like the original plan was I want to be engineer because I want to go into what?
I didn't know. My parents were always like, oh, if you're an engineer, you'll make lots of money. Like, that's what you should do. And I was like, okay. Like, I was like so like not about the college experience. Like, I'm pretty sure I made my college decision like at midnight, the last like possible deadline you could make before you go to college. Like, I was like not about it. Like, I didn't even want to visit schools. Like, I just hated the idea of college. But everyone told me I should do it. And they were like, you're smart. Don't waste your potential. I was like, okay. And then I came to Colorado and toured the School of Mines in Golden and pretty much was like, whoa, these mountains are sick. Like, sure, I'll go to this school. And so, I was undeclared for like my first year. And then I discovered that geological engineering is the major where you can go hike outside. And so I was like, sick,
there you go.
that one. And, I think nature was a huge factor for me as well in terms of just connecting with, I feel like connection with the earth is like so linked to connection with ourselves, and it's like such a clear mirror to ourselves. So I feel like that was like the catalyst that really started everything.
Wow, I agree. Damn. Yeah, that's what I felt when I was farming. It's like being around things that are growing.
Yeah.
It kind of just like gives you a whole new feeling.
Totally.
You know, I feel like you're a product of your environment. If you're around things that are growing, you're growing inside. As well. And I don't know, just like putting your hands in the dirt. And like knowing like the history behind the land is incredible, you know, like kind of really attaches you to it. I remember like when we would do like before volunteer days, we have this big site in Arvada. It's like 3 acres and we grow a bunch of stuff there. But like before we have these big volunteer days, we have a person that's native to that land kind of bless the land. Wow. And it's incredible. But the sad part about it is that like the people who do these, you know, blessings, they're like the last, like super old people, like the last generation that's gonna like stick around and be able to do that. So it's like, damn, like what's gonna happen, you know, 10 years from now when this person who's doing this no longer is here? Like, do they have like grandchildren below them? But like a lot of people our age aren't into like farming or into like this like hands-on approach to like the environment. They're more like I'll buy something to like,
Yeah,
you know, just help the environment. I'll buy it. I won't like actually get my hands dirty though,
totally.
which is pretty interesting, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan, but you know, to each his own. How do you feel about that?
Well, I feel like it could be like, because humans started like so in that zone of like being so deeply connected to the land and working with the land every single day, literally to survive. Like, we didn't have grocery stores. Like, people were out there getting their own food, and it was so built into like everyday life that then, you know, the Industrial Revolution and all this stuff where like humans, I mean, I think the intention was to evolve and make life easier for ourselves, but I feel like we're at such a pivotal point in like life right now. I feel like humans are finding that we need to reconnect to the land and to the earth, and it's been cool seeing the rise of urban farming and all of these environments where people are like growing their own food again, and I'm feeling like I'm seeing these things pop up more and more and more. Like, even in Denver, like there's several restaurants now that like grow their own food and like have their gardens like in an urban environment, and it's cool seeing humans, I feel like, revert back to like, oh, like, because I feel like we went, you know, like maybe we don't need to like be, I mean, who knows, but like maybe we don't need to be as primal as we were back then, but like maybe we don't need to be as like technology and like detached as we are
Kind
now.
of find a balance, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I feel like we might be like, hopefully, like I hope we're like coming back to like connecting with the land and just being connected to, I mean, we come from nature. Like nature is like innately a part of us, and I feel like it's important to stay in touch with that, especially living in the city too, like finding those outlets, whether it's hiking or gardening or I feel like putting your hands in the dirt is I literally just did that the other day, like just to be like, I want to be grounded, like
Absolutely. And I think one of the people I was gardening with, I'm probably gonna misquote her, but she's really big into like the physiological benefits of gardening, of like getting your hands in the dirt, and pretty much there's electrons and neutrons in your body, and I think, long story short, the dirt itself pretty much like balances all your electrons and neutrons in your body, so therefore like pretty much enhances healing, and it like changes your whole physiological makeup while your hands are there. That's why like if you go in your with like rubber gloves though, then it changes everything. It kind of like you know how like lightning or electricity doesn't like go to rubber.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing. So like there's like electricity in the ground.
Yeah.
And if you put your bare hands in there, it kind of rearranges your makeup. So
yeah.
Misquoted that, but
no,
look at the gist.
That.
Look at the gist. But yeah, I think it's so important to like give people experiences. Like you can spit all these facts and numbers at people, but to like they experience putting their hands on dirt, they experience like, you know, actually growing a pepper, you know, or a tomato, eating a tomato that's not from the grocery store, which is basically like cardboard because all the, you know, additives they put in it. But it's another episode. But I think it's so important. I forgot where I was going with that, but. Yeah, I think giving people the experience of just like doing something is so pivotal right now. So I think people opening up those doors for, you know, their community is incredible. So.
Yeah, I feel like connection with the earth is everything. Kind of like on a similar wavelength to that. Like even from like a geological engineering standpoint, which I am grateful for my education, despite how all this podcast might sound. Shouts out mines. But learning about the energy of like, we literally learned about like the energetic composition of rocks and certain crystals and like of the earth, and how the earth is energy, and there's energy flowing through everything, and like there's energy in our bodies, like in the like energetic field between the physical matter of our bodies. Like energy is scientific, and the energy has frequency because energy is a wave, not just like a particle. And so like each wave like has a certain frequency, and there are things that we can do to alter that frequency like within ourselves. And so the earth vibrates at a natural frequency. I forget the exact frequency of it, but you know, that's why there's all those like sound healings that are at a certain frequency and stuff. But I think that relates to gardening or hiking in the sense of like when you're interacting with the earth and when you're touching the earth and when you're in nature. And that's why like when you come back from like a 3-day camping trip or something, you feel so refreshed and like so in tune with yourself because you're matching the frequency of nature. And I think a lot of things, the way our society is built right now, are like frequency lowering
They don't promote
activities
that, yeah.
and like numbing, or not that like there's anything wrong with this, but just like observing like,
Yeah.
oh, what's my frequency when I like watch TV at home versus like go on a hike and like interact with nature. And just knowing the science behind it, I feel like has been so cool for me, because it's not just all the woo shit, like
Yeah.
it's like actually
Yeah,
real.
like real,
Yeah.
no, for sure. Wow. Even like music, I feel like they've changed the frequencies. Like I think you have to upload music at a certain frequency now. Like you upload the Tidal or Spotify or anything like that. It's like it has to be at a certain frequency, but it's not the natural frequency. But like if you look back to like Beethoven and all these other like artists, like they were making music at a certain frequency for a reason, but they changed it over time, which is it just blows my mind. It's like why? Like what are they doing?
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
Yeah.
It's so weird. But even like when Jaden Smith came out with a whole album with that was made at a certain frequency, the natural frequency. I think it's like 47.2 hertz or something. I don't know, something like that.
I think it's like 432 hertz or something.
Yeah, something like that.
We'll fact check this episode.
Absolutely. But like the fact that people are aware of that and like I don't know, that he did that was amazing to me. Like I wasn't necessarily a fan of the album, but I definitely listened to it just kind of like what does it sound like? But it's kind of sad that these concepts are so foreign.
Totally. I feel like it starts all with everything that all of us are working on now, though. Like I feel like I truly feel like we're just like creating this like new way of living, of like, how do we actually feel? Like how do we actually want to feel? Because I feel like it was so, I feel like humanity got to this point where it was just like, this is the way we do things because this is the right way and this is what you're supposed to do. And like even with like just like parental influences or anything, like not that any of it's negative, but just observing the differences between like how we're living life now versus I feel like how I was taught to live is like very different.
No, 100%. I feel like that's why it's so important, like once you hit a certain age, I think like 17, 18, it's so important to kind of just like wipe your slate clean and just like see your life through your own eyes. Because I feel like, age from your birth till, however old, you're seeing life through, whether it be your teachers, your parents, your grandparents, you're seeing life through their eyes because that's who you're spending the most time with, and they're teaching you these lessons. They're teaching you, oh, worry about this. Oh, this is what you should be careful of. Oh, this is how you do the things. But it's like, at some point, you have to like, how do I want to do things? How do I see the world? What are my opinions? And I feel like a lot of people will like skip that step. Like, from being an adult, they're like, oh, I'm 26, so I'm an adult now. But it's like, are you really? Are you seeing life from your own eyes? Things like that. I think that's, you might be paying your own bills, but you see life from your own eyes. I think that's kind of skipped.
That's a good definition of adult. I like that.
For sure.
That's so important, just to connect with yourself. Like, just be like, who am I? Like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Like, how do I want to feel? What makes me feel good? And getting into that mode of, like, how do we thrive instead of just survive,
Yeah. But like you said, I think it comes down to like, who am I? It's a question that everybody's asking themselves, because I feel like that's how you find your passion. That's how you find out, I might not want to work here anymore. I might want to go freelance and do whatever. I might want to just go, camp in a tree for a month, who knows? But I think that's how you really find out like what life really means to you and what you value in life. And I think that's so important, because that's what I've kind of just started to realize these last couple months, is just like really kind of taking a step back and asking myself like, what do I value? Like I'm reading this book right now. It's called I'll Teach You How to Be Rich. And it's a great book. And it really kind of like makes you go back to like, all right, what does being rich look like to me? Like, yes, I want this money, I want these things, but it's like, what do I want this money to be able to afford me? So like I wrote a list down today. Mine was, I want the money to be able to afford me, fresh fruits and vegetables and abundance, on a daily basis. I want to be able to travel frequently. I want to be able to, what was that thing I wrote down? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But, writing those things down and like really defining what it is that you want. And why do you want that thing?
Yes.
Yes. Like I want to be able to buy cool gadgets, like for the house. Just like buy little cool gadgets and just, just live life freely. And just like be like create a space that I can be my whole self. Create that environment in my home. So.
And I love that, I love that you said that and that you're expressing that and like tapping into that, because I feel like there's so many like shoulds in life of like, oh, you should be doing this, but like doing it for like, why do I want this? Like, why, like, this is what I want, but why do I want this? Like, what does it feel like to have this? And like, how am I connected to this? And like, what is the purpose of having it? Because it can be so easy to be like, oh, you should be doing this job because you should be getting this money. But like, what are you actually doing to like get that money? And like, what are you actually doing with that money? And I feel like wealth consciousness is so fascinating to me.
For sure. Absolutely. I feel like that's why some people get all this money and they're so unfulfilled. They don't know what to do with it. They don't like, they just go into depression because it's like, okay, I have $1 million. I don't know what I want to do with it, but I was taught I was supposed to have this. And it's just like, now I'm going to just splurge. I'm going to just blow it all or just start doing weird stuff. You know? Yeah. Because it's like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I feel that. And I feel like it's so important to be present and joyful throughout every step of the process of like, you can have the vision and you can have the goals, but like, you need to enjoy the process of getting there. Otherwise, getting there won't be fulfilling at all.
Absolutely.
Because then once you have it, you're like, wait a minute. How does this actually make me feel?
Yeah, no, I think that's so important. Even like when you talk about goal setting, like I feel like we live in this false illusion where we feel like we've been taught our whole life that there's this bag of tools at the top of this mountain. And, you know, our whole life is, you know, meant to just get to the top of the mountain, get that bag of tools. Yeah. But it's like, once you realize that all the tools is in that bag or come with you on the journey, or come to you on the journey, then it's like, there is no top, there's no destination. There's just like, it's all about the journey. It's all about what you learn throughout your experiences.
Yes.
That's what it all comes down to.
Yes. Like, we're only going to be this, like, it fascinates me how unique each human is. Like, the fact that, like, you have a clothing brand and you also do gardening and, like, you have, like, you used to be a basketball player and, like, all this stuff. Like, each human is so unique. Like, the humans I know who are so tapped into themselves and, like, what makes me feel good and are just, like, so authentically themselves. It's amazing and also kind of funny to just like observe and be like, what the fuck? Like, who are you? Like, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Like, it's so cool. And that's like, you're always exactly where you need to be in that moment. Like, you are only living this life as this human, like this one time. And so like right now is exactly where you need to be. Like, where are you in your journey? And like expressing, I feel like I can get so caught up in the goals all the time. I'm such like a vision goal setter and I'm really good at it. But like the thing that I've been teaching myself this year is just presence, like in the journey, in the process of being like, yeah, like it's inevitable. Like, if I have these goals, like I'm working towards them, they will come to me. But like, am I enjoying the present moment right now? And like, where can I tap into just being instead of like doing all the time?
For sure. Wow, that's a good point. So like, what are like the things that like provide you reassurance on your journey? You know, when you get to these points where you're kind of like unsure, like in like a floating phase, like what grounds you or like what kind of like reassures you that like, I'm good?
That's very important. I feel like it's so important to celebrate wins for yourself. Like, when I started my practice, my journaling practice grounds me the most, for sure. Because I can be very like creative and like fire and like all these things, and like I can be so up and like, yeah, but then like it's like, okay, like come back to like just like centering. And in the mornings, every single morning, I always write down what I'm grateful for and my intentions for the day, and then I write out my vision in like a detached creative flow. But then, and so then that motivates me that day to like take actions on my visions. But then at the end of the day, even most importantly, and I notice significant changes in my mood when I do this versus don't do this, but I try to every single night, like no matter how tired I am before I go to bed, I view my day from a lens of gratitude of like, oh, I'm so grateful like that this happened, and like just walk through my day of like all the things I'm grateful for. And then I walk through my day from a lens of affirmation and be like, I'm so proud of myself for like creating the space to meditate this morning. I'm so proud of myself for finishing this project or releasing this podcast or whatever it is. Because when I don't do those things, like I've noticed, and my mindset has shifted a lot since I've been doing this practice for 3 years, but like my natural state, or I guess the stories that were told to me and the experiences I had, like used to be like in bed at night, like no matter how much I did that day, like I would do so much in the day. Like I'm a very action-oriented person. I would lay in bed at night and be like, oh, like I didn't get to this, like I should have done this, or I should have been nicer to this person, and just like would just beat myself up and be so hard on myself. And so I feel like for me personally, it's been so important to just affirm myself for the progress I'm making. And I'm like, oh, I made this, like, these 3 tiny steps towards my vision today. Or like, oh, I did this, and affirming yourself for that, to be like, okay, like, you're on the path, you're doing it. Like, no human is capable of executing all their visions in a single day. So
yeah, absolutely. I think it's important, honestly. I think I kind of forget to reflect sometimes. Like, I just go through the whole day and I'm just like, man, I'm tired, and just go to sleep.
Right.
And it's like, I never sit back and, like, you know, like, reflect on the day, you know, what I did, what didn't happen, what could have happened, or just, like, not even about what it could have, should have, but just, like, reflect on, like, what do I want to do better? You know, like, what I actually did, like you said, to kind of just reflect and just, like, go throughout the day, like, what happened. You know? 'Cause, like, I feel like there's sometimes where, like, I had a really dope conversation with somebody, and it's like, I'll forget about it because I did 4 other things that day, and it's just like, when I get home, I'm just tired, so I just want to go to sleep, and then I just forget about the conversation, even though it meant so much to me.
Yeah.
You know, even, like, little things.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
What are your practices for grounding yourself and being present?
Journaling, for sure. Definitely journaling, and I would say just taking, like, conscious breaths. You know, I think that kind of really grounds me, just, like, taking intentional breaths and just be, like, kind of just allow myself to just be in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, even when I can't journal, like, I don't have my journal on me, but I want to write something down so bad, I'll just go on my phone and voice record it.
Totally.
I think that helps.
Love it.
And, but yeah, I think the thing that helps me the most is definitely the intentional breathing. Just, like, really allowing yourself to, like, take, you know, even, like, 5 to 10 deep breaths. Just sit there and just be like, all right, we're good.
Yeah.
You know, and just, like, it just brings a whole nother, like, sense of just stillness to you.
Yeah.
And I've kind of, like, learned that there's so many different types of meditation. Like, I feel like there's a stigma of, like, oh, there's only one type of type of meditation, one type of way to meditate. But it's like, no, like, prayer is a meditation. You know, intentional breaths. That's meditation.
100%.
You know, and I think it all comes down to just, like, learning how you work.
Yeah.
You know, like, how your body works. Like, what gets to you? What makes your body feel still? What makes your mind feel calm?
Yeah.
You know, and mine is intentional breathing and journaling.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, the breath is the tool. I love that the breath is the tool that we, like, always have on us, because it can be so easy, like, even with journaling and, like, all these practices that we do to be mindful, like, I'll set my intentions at the beginning of the day, and I'll be so mindful, and I'll do my meditation, I'll go for a walk, and then, like, and then I'll start doing my tasks, and then I'll have this meeting with this person, and then, like, sure enough, by, like, 7 p.m., I'm like, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? What are my intentions? And then, like, it's cool to be, like, just have that breath, be like, okay, you're always just, like, one breath away from centering, and
For sure.
I love it. And I love that you say that, like, meditation is, like, yeah, there is such a stigma of, like, this is how you meditate. Like, there's this one way. But, like, yeah. But it's, like, literally anything. Like, anything can be a meditation.
Absolutely.
All of life can be a meditation if you want it to be.
For
like,
sure. Absolutely. So, are you into, like, numerology at all?
I'm
That's
just
an
diving
interesting
into
question.
it. And
Okay, cool.
I love, it's kind of, I don't know the science behind it, so I'd love to hear, like, your thoughts on this as well. But I think it's just, like, a cool, like, affirming thing to be able to be like, if you, like, think a cool thought and then you see some numbers, you're like, oh, okay. Like,
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
But what's your perspective?
I think it's cool, honestly. Like, I got into it probably a couple years ago. And I think it's important to find a balance within it, because you can kind of get dependent. Like, oh, I'm not seeing numbers.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like, what, I'm doing something wrong. Or you see, like, a certain number, you're like, oh, damn, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know? And so I think it's important to find a balance. But I think that's also kind of, you know, grounded me at points, you know, like when I'm having these thoughts of either negative or positive, it's like seeing a number during that, it's like, damn, that was brought to me for a reason. I feel like everything you observe is for a reason. Everything happens, and I feel like I think life brings you patterns, and those numbers are patterns. So I think it's important to embrace it. I feel like it scares a lot of people, like seeing 11 or seeing like whatever numbers you see. I think it, like, kind of scares people, like, oh, like, is somebody watching me, or like, what is like what's going on? Like, what do I do? And it's just like putting like what was the word I want to say? Unnecessary pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
To, like, have this certain thing figured out, to be thinking this certain way.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not about that. It's just like, I think these triple numbers or whatever numbers you're seeing, it's like kind of serve as reminders.
Yeah.
Rather than like doctrines. Like,
you
need to be thinking this way. Like, no.
Totally.
It's like no. Like, think more positive, or just like realize that you are where you're supposed to be, or just like you know, good things are coming your way, or just like the portals are open. Like it's time to like manifest things. You know, it's like
Yeah.
reminders.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, and I love the idea of like just divine guidance. And with
Mhm.
all things spiritual, like I had a conversation earlier today about this too, that like I feel like my left brain, the engineer in me, is like, but why? And is this true? Do I know for sure that this is a fact? But like at the end of the day, it just comes down to like, how does it make you feel? And so my mantra for like the past month or so has just been like, because like with all the fear and anxiety in the world, like it can just be easy to be caught up in that whirlwind. And so I learned this from a book on that my roommate was reading on empathy, and like just feeling connected to other people's energy and absorbing the energy in the room around you. And I didn't even realize that I was doing that for a while until recently. And one of the tools in that book was just to visualize like just being surrounded by a bright white light, and like every breath you take, you're like breathing in that light, and it's like divine guidance and divine support and just like being divinely connected. And this all might sound like so like spiritual and woo woo and everything, and like I don't know, there's no science behind it or anything, but at the end of the day, it makes me feel good. And so I feel like that makes all the difference.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I feel like it's so important to just like get to that point, because, you know, even when it comes to like religion, you know, it's like people, there's no right or wrong. At the end of the day, nobody knows. So like your viewpoint is just as good as mine.
Yeah.
So
I love all of this, and I would love to end on one final question of if you had to leave us with your thoughts on how to be a happy human, what would you say?
Take time to know yourself. Don't fall into exterior pressures outside of yourself. And I would say just find the things that ground you in your moments where you don't feel okay. Like kind of but create an internal foundation to where when things externally aren't going as planned, you still have a foundation to stand on and live through. So I think that'd be my core points to leave with.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much
for
being on here today.
This is amazing.
And we'll share with you guys Javon's clothing brand and how to connect with him after this.
Absolutely. You can follow me on Instagram. My false ego page is false_EG0.
Woo.
And you follow me personally at Jevon Taylor 21.
Woo! Amazing.
Peace.
Thank you so much.
No, for sure.